Yeah.
And we're live with Growing Your Grass Off. Welcome to the show. It's me, Ian from Florida.
All right, this is Kevin from Nashville, Tennessee.
And I'm Brandon from Costa Rica.
And I'm Lana from Seattle, Washington.
So, Kevin, what you got growing on?
What do I got growing on? Well, we got a really bad cold snap, as many people in this part of the country have experienced. And we had January weather in November before Thanksgiving. So it finally started warming up again today, but I'm basically hunkered down for winter. I brought some plants back outside today that were in the garage. And I opened up my little makeshift greenhouse for my hardy potted plants. So they're plants that are hardy if they were in the ground, but because they're in pots and it was 20 degrees, I rigged this sort of little greenhouse under my farmer's market canopy with like plastic around it. And it's actually too warm now. So I'm like opening it up and I had to water them because they were getting a little dry. And so I'm not growing much of anything because my broccoli and my cabbage all got hit by the heavy freeze that we had. So I'm growing collards, cilantro, henbit, chickweed. My garlic, is tiny, and the wheat cover crop is, small. I got some pea shoots that made it through. So I am growing that, which is cool.
Is this all under your greenhouse, or is this all?
This is all just outside in the ground. Yeah. The greenhouse, I've got all my tropical plants, and I can do a whole, talk about what I've got in the actual little greenhouse. But, but I had an incident the other night with my chicken coop, if y'all want to hear about that.
Yeah.
What happened there?
So I was actually talking to a potential guest who's a friend of mine, who and we like to talk. So she was talking on the phone, and I realized it had been an hour since the sun went down, and I hadn't went and closed the chicken coop door yet. And so I went out there to close it while I'm talking to her because I couldn't get her off the phone, right? I mean, we just love talking. And so I closed up the door, and I noticed that we have a fairly new hen, and she's not the smartest about being social, right, with the other chickens. That's a whole other topic. I don't know what's up with her. And she didn't, for the second night in a row, know how to go into the little makeshift little tent area I put around their roost because it's 20 degrees and I wanted to give them a little extra protection. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, when I get off the phone with my friend, I'm going to go and I'm going to pick her up like I did the previous night, which I couldn't do while I was on the phone, and put her under the little tunnel that I have going to the roost. So I get off the phone, fine. I go back out there to do it, and she like runs from me, and I'm like, well, this is weird. And I see right next to her, there's this big old possum in the coop.
Jeez.
And I mean, possums, some people, they're not going to hurt your chickens or whatever. But I've known many people that have had possums kill their chickens, and ducks. We have a duck too in the coop with them. So I get my wife out, and and we put the baby in this little pen upstairs, and we're out there with big poles and trying to flush it out because I left the coop door open so it can go out the way it came in. And we could not get it. After an hour in the freezing cold trying to get this possum to leave the coop, couldn't do it. So unfortunately, I had to kill the possum. Which was unfortunate because maybe some of our viewers aren't aware of this, but they're rat eaters, and they eat rodents, they eat rats, they eat ticks. Possums are good. They're weird looking, but and they can kill your chickens and ducks, but otherwise, they're kind of good to have around. So I did not want to kill it, but I couldn't leave it in there with them, and I couldn't get it out. I wasn't about to go and try to grab it or anything. Maybe, some of our listeners will be like, oh, you can just grab that possum by the tail and whatever, but that wasn't.
No offense.
I'm not going to do that, right? Somebody else suggested well, possum's good eating. There's a lot of fat on them or whatever, but I've just heard too many stories about diseases from possums and armadillos, for instance. I know we talked about this briefly the other day, the four of us or the three of us, but I'm just wondering if y'all had any input on have you heard of that kind of stuff? Is it way overblown, these diseases they carry? like it just seems like over the top. Like you shouldn't even look at them or you'll get some hideous disease, much less, eat them. So I'm not about to risk it, but at the same time, I question. I'm always questioning, what we're told. And that's one of the things that's come up a lot with, trying to be sustainable and homesteading and eating things like that, which I'm not doing.
Yeah, it's growing possums.
Yeah.
86 months. See.
So that's my update. If anybody has anything to add about that, I'd love to have a discussion about that sometime.
Sweet.
Yeah, we got armadillo here, and they dig holes and they just go all over the place, and it's kind of the same thing. You just want to. I've been steering clear of them too, but I've always, like, you and I both watched Survivor Man, and he's eating rats and scorpions and all these things. So I bet it's possible to do a lot more than we think. That's my quick take on it.
Yeah, I watched this episode of Alone, and I actually like that show. And there was some animal, and it was trying to think of porcupine, I think it was. And, they're really, really high in fat. And that's what you need on that show to survive, is like calories and fat calories. And like, I can't remember if she ate it or not, but she's like, they say not to eat it because it carries all these diseases. And I'm like, well, if you're cooking the crap out of it, how is it they're gonna be, biological, pests or whatever, parasites or disease if you're cooking it that much. But anyway, it came up on that show too. And that was one of those, hardcore Survivor shows. But yeah, I know Survivor Man talked about it one time with, like, he was eating rats or something in some area where they known to have bubonic plague. And he mentioned it, but.
Yeah, or roadkill. Yeah, same thing. It's kind of, when do you get to it?
I'm gonna pass on all that. I'm gonna stick to, my homegrown animals. Thank you for food. But yeah, I've got in my greenhouse currently growing just a little teeny tiny small bud of marijuana. That is the only thing I have growing right now. I do have lights on that, 16 hours, but that's a very, very fresh little plant I've got just passed on to me from family, and just growing it as an experiment here in the greenhouse. Normally just grow it in the summer, just one little crop for fun. That's what I've got growing. I got seeds out in the garden, though, that I planted before frost, and things are just starting to come up. Carrots, beets, garlic, and onions. That's about all I've got here in Seattle. I've had a ton of rain yesterday. It's beautiful, sunny today. So we're into the cold weather, though. So we don't have much going on here for a good 4 months. So that's all I got. What do you got, Brandon?
Yeah, no, I'm in Costa Rica, so we get a ton of rain, but it's going to be the dry season. It's starting right now. I can kind of tell, starting to heat up and get drier compared to, it's just still wet. It'll still rain like, part of the day. So, yeah, we have a greenhouse too, and I have my starts going. So I had my young girls out there helping me plant and stuff. So that's a big sort of wait and see what comes up and what does well. So I got to I need to get soil and put it inside the greenhouse and create beds and stuff. So yeah, that's a big project. I shared some videos with you guys, kind of giving updates on what other things I've been doing. But outside the greenhouse, we've had cassava harvest, and that's been a lot of fun. So if you're not used to eating that, most people probably experience it through tapioca, the little, pearls. Yeah. But this stuff we bake it, and it's like a potato fry, so it's really good. And
can you put it in the air fryer?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. That's a really good option. And so, yeah, it's just like a big tuber that, it's big, long potato kind of thing. And we also have taro root growing, and we've got sweet potato. We harvested, it's sort of unintentional, actually. I was digging out this big bed. I put all my compost in this big bed, and then all of a sudden we got avocado trees just flying up. So I got a hedge of avocado. I'm gonna like try and like maybe espalier together or something, so we'll see what happens there. And if I can keep them low, I could transplant them too.
Transplant them.
Yeah. So, but there's so many, like I actually have already like 6 or 7 avocados planted. So,
Just leave it.
yeah, we'll see. We'll
Stay
see
in
what
the
happens.
compost.
And they don't really like the wet. So basically, this is kind of the bigger theme for me is that I planted probably 70 plus trees, and it's just been a ton of water this year compared to even the standards here. So everything's got wet feet, and avocado definitely don't like that. So they've been drowning, and that's really one of the things that it's just kind of a test. So I planted tons of trees knowing that not everything's going to make it. So I'll just keep planting more and more and see what does well. And I kind of already have an idea that citrus and other trees up here do well. The coconut palms and the cashew trees and the mangoes, they don't do as well. They need some extra heat. So I'm kind of in this rainy cloud forest, but it's got some good sun aspect too. So it's got a pretty good feel to it. You're not in the cloud all the time, but yeah, it's definitely wet and it's not as sunny. So I gotta have to fend for myself that way and figure out what's going to do it. The other big highlight for me is fish pond. So I got some tilapia, and I moved some what's it called, water hyacinth from my neighbor into the pond. So I got like 4 or 5 big clumps of that just starting out, and then I throw some feed in there just to see what kind of activity. And there's at least 10 fish or something at least willing to come up and get it. So, and it's about a 30 by 30 pond. It's averaging maybe 4 feet deep, maybe a little more than that. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun just getting those things established. But I could go on. There's a lot of work to do.
A lot of growing on.
Yeah, there's a lot happening. And yeah, so for me, that's just every day try to chip away at things, little projects, and there's a lot of fun people here to help, a lot of locals that I've been learning a lot from. So that's been amazing.
Cool. What you got, Ian?
I got too much, but right now I just moved. Just for our audience, I moved 4 months ago, so I've been going crazy. I have my new plot. Recently, I've gotten 4 20-foot hugel beds done. Just planted brassicas, broccolini, cauliflower, all that stuff. Yesterday, I got a bunch of seeds. My brother-in-law is coming over later today, so I'm going to try to get his kids to help me seed out the rest of those beds just for a fun activity while we're waiting for other people to cook. What else do I have? Still waiting on some free mulch because I don't want to pay for it. We got a tree trimming company around our neighborhood for the last 3 weeks, so I'm waiting for mulch from them. And then just getting all my rare stuff into the greenhouse because stuff will actually freeze here in a month in Central Florida. I have a bunch of stuff like vanilla bean, cashews, and stuff like that doesn't like it. So that's what I've been working on lately. There's a whole bunch more, prepping for cutting more trees down and getting goat structures and chicken structures up for next year. That's kind of what my winter's looking like. So too much going on, but we have a special guest, so I'll let you introduce him and we'll get rolling there.
This is Austin, our brother from another mother. Coming from, where are you at? Austin, we've known him for now over 2 years, about 2 years. About a year ago, Austin and I were doing an install in California together, which was so much fun. Got to know him so well, spending days and nights together. So let us know where you're at. What have you been up to the last few months?
Yeah, so I'm Austin. I operate as Thriving Roots Design. I have a couple of partners that kind of run the show with me, and we just get to, at this point, we're pretty mobile. So we're doing a lot of installs on the road. We kind of specialize in water retention landscapes, pond excavations, ecological pond systems, and kind of creating grow spaces with that. With water in mind is kind of the main motivator and design kind of driver. we've been working a lot in Texas lately, also Arizona and Southern California. But yeah, I guess let's see.
And you're installing food forest, right? Food forest
Yeah.
ponds,
Food forests and
edible
ponds.
landscapes.
We've done a couple of like bigger farm scale installs with fellow designer, Keystone Intelligence, Chad Johnson. He's kind of an awesome mentor for us at Thriving Roots, and we really appreciate doing the installs with him and getting his take on how he does things, because it's kind of wildly different than most people's take on permaculture, which is awesome. He trained with Sepp Holzer, so there's a lot to be learned in the water world, and just kind of the little nuances of listening to nature and talking to the ecosystems that are in place, and then how we can kind of interact and kind of interject with them and just kind of bolster the life that it harbors. Yeah, but let's see. So Thriving Roots, I started Thriving Roots about 5 years ago in Salt Lake City. Was really starting to get some decent traction, and then doing like small residential food forests designs and installs, and then let's see, 4 years ago, me and my former partner moved to northern Vermont, where we started a little 20-acre farmstead, living off the grid in a yurt about 5 miles from Canada. And then let's see, that lasted for about 3 years. And then really Thriving Roots just kind of gained traction again, and was able to kind of start devoting more time to that, and have since kind of left the farm in Vermont, and now I'm currently living on the road with two of my best friends, Dustin and Niall, who helped me run Thriving Roots, and really were able to help us take it to the next level, and really start to expand what we're able to provide for people and the work that we do, which is awesome. So at this point, yeah, we're living on the road essentially, trying to get landed and run maybe the Tennessee area. We're thinking, kind of trying to, we like the mountains, land in the mountains out west though is a little too expensive, and there's not enough water out there. So yeah, we're really feeling drawn to kind of Appalachia, and yeah, looking forward to getting roots back in the ground for ourselves again. It's funny we say, because so Dustin's had a farm as well as myself, and we both really enjoyed the aspect of doing it for ourselves, but then there's like this whole new aspect of getting to do it for other people, and being able to bring the knowledge that we kind of acquired in our own senses and our own farms to people, and really be able to kind of hand off the torch to their systems. When we install perennial-based food production systems, we're really kind of educating the homeowners and the clients along the way, and making sure they're out in the garden hands-on with us, so that way when we leave, they're able to really take up the torch and own the garden and feel a sense of pride and ownership in it. We like to dabble in biodynamics, so Rudolf Steiner's work, and kind of farming and planting and harvesting and pruning with the phases of the moon and the star cycles. With that comes compost teas, or like biodynamic preps, which is essentially a compost tea that we like to bring to projects and kind of anoint the land with. It really ties in to kind of the astral and the spirit realm into the earth stewardship realm, and it kind of allows that land to essentially become a pillar of light for the astral. So it's kind of reconnecting those two, right? That have been kind of, as we have in the past, the humans have really kind of degraded land and treated it not as sacred as it is and what it provides for us. So it's kind of retying the knot in a way, and reconnecting the two. So we like to focus on that. We follow the calendar loosely. The biodynamic calendars. We like to kind of just look at key points. If it's a do nothing day, then we'll probably won't plant that day. If it's not necessarily a planting day, we'll probably still feel all right planting. But we like to keep it loose and just kind of follow the kind of the key points
Austin, can you give us a little, like, maybe some people don't know what biodynamics is all about. Can you give us a quick summary in your mind, what it is to you?
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, let's see. So just, I guess, a little backstory is, so Rudolf Steiner kind of developed it in the mountains of, I believe, Austria, with a couple of other farmers. He himself wasn't a farmer. He was a philosopher and kind of a esotericist. He also started the Waldorf school system, which I'm sure quite a few of the listeners will be kind of familiar with. So it really, yeah, to me, it's kind of like I was saying, it's tying in the spiritual realm, the metaphysical realm, back in with the earth body and the earth's realm, which is our physical. So it's kind of bridging the gap between like kind of etherical thinking and living in the spiritual realm with earth stewardship. And it kind of, like I was saying, bridges the gap to really provide like a solid, this is an action you can take and this is the outcome, as opposed to like, you know, just having these kind of ideas and concepts that float around in the permaculture world per se, that don't necessarily have backed up, like, proof is in the pudding, I guess you could say. Yeah, so for me, I like it. We do it very low key. You know, there are a lot of biodynamic farmers that are very like to a T, which I think is awesome. But one thing that Chad Johnson has kind of mentioned to me before was like, you know, biodynamics is essentially was meant to be like a stepping stone, right? So it's kind of reinvigorating the spiritual life of the land. And then once you've kind of developed that system and maybe you've practiced spreading the preps for 4 or 5 years, maybe in some places only a year or two, maybe in some places 10 years, you kind of get to a point where it can kind of start to fade away because the land has been kind of reconnected and replugged back in. So it really kind of is meant to be a stepping stone in my eyes. Like, how do we kind of regain that connection to the sacred of the land? And then at that point, as long as you're stewarding it in such a way and holding that space in your heart, I think you can kind of transition out of like the physical prep making and spreading of the preps and kind of just into the living of the system. You know, we've sprayed or anointed with field prep 501 and 502. And the next day, like, I mean, you could walk out in the field and earthworm castings were just everywhere, popping up out of the topsoil. I mean, it's really amazing how fast it can reinvigorate the land and really call in the life forces of the universe. Pretty impressive.
It's cool. I didn't know that was all intertwined into Thriving Roots now. But I love it. I love hearing all of that. That makes me happy. That's cool. Very cool. So you're doing good things. So you're in Texas right now. Where do you think you're going to land next?
Oh, that's a hard question.
Right.
We like to play it by ear.
Whatever comes.
Yeah, wherever we end up. Currently, I'm in Missouri for the week visiting some family. But yeah, we're in the middle of a 2-month earthworks job in Pondville, just outside of Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
We're assuming we're going to probably take January and February off, kind of hang out with the family, and take some downtime to kind of reorganize our lives a little bit. And then I think we're thinking late February and March, we'll probably be in Austin, Texas area. We've got another big, larger scale install kind of in the wings, and then a couple of residentials down there. So the residentials we really enjoy doing because it really, like, I mean, it's just so cool to see these, like, to come into somebody's life that has had this desire to grow food and had this desire to, you know, maybe they've heard of permaculture and they're kind of dabbling in some of the books and some of the online resources that are there, but then to really be able to step into that space with them on their own land and kind of help them really get a system established and get it off the ground and get it growing. It's just a really, really fulfilling act that we really hold that close to our hearts. So while we do like doing these big, like the bigger earthworks jobs and the, you know, farm scale installs, we also really find a lot of joy in doing the smaller residentials, and just watching it kind of liven people up. And, you know, they come out of the house in the morning smiling and ready to work in the garden with us, which is just really cool to experience.
Yeah, it becomes more intimate when they're there and it's a smaller scale install. So that's so cool. After this, what do you think your next kind of, after you land somewhere, will you still travel and still be kind of a nomad installer?
You know, it's funny because
Hard to tell, right? Future.
yeah,
But
well, it's hard to tell. And the three of us, Dustin, Niall, and myself, have all kind of said like, oh yeah, we do. We all love traveling. We all love being on the road, and we all love doing this work. So it's hand in hand for us right now. But then there's kind of this reality that sets in of like,
yeah,
well, once we start developing land, what are the odds that we're actually gonna like want to take off for 4 months out of the year? Or like, you know what I mean? Once you start to build your own paradise and build your own home, it's kind of, you know, in your mind, you could be like, oh, of course I'm gonna want to keep traveling. This is what I love to do. But then it's like, but realistically, like, you know, you start building paradise in your own space. It's your own
you don't
household.
wanna leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so we've been playing around with that idea. We're looking forward to kind of setting up kind of an education center on the land, Thriving Roots Guild, where we can train people to actually do the hands-on work. There's so many designers and kind of bookworms and stuff in the permaculture field, which is great, but there are fewer practitioners than there are like actual physical doers, than there actually are, you know, people in the know at this point. So we really hope to like kind of start in that transition of how do we get these people doing these hard physical skills? How do we, you know, help people understand what proper planting techniques are? How do we help people understand how easy it is to build, you know, annual production systems or simple structures, chicken coops, you know, sheep sheds and stuff. So we're looking forward to really kind of transitioning from more or less an install company into an education hub. Niall works in Chinese or traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture, as well as leading retreats. So we'll probably most likely also host a retreat center on the land, where we're able to kind of tie in the spiritual side of things with the actual physical of earth stewardship and this is our mother, and how do we show her respect and really drive home the act and the art of living with the land. So yeah, I think that'll be kind of our next steps. I mean, who knows how soon or how far out that'll happen. We do tend to move fast with things when we get our mind set on something, so it could be a little dangerous, but you know, it's we're letting it stew and we're letting it molder. A nice slow compost and
letting Mother Nature decide for you what's next, right?
Exactly. But yeah, we are all looking forward to getting landed. And this has been my first year kind of not tending my own garden and growing most of my food for quite some time now. So kind of been like a little weird mentally, turbulent. Like I don't have plants to water. What
harvest?
Where'd they go? So yeah, definitely looking forward to getting roots back in the ground.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. You guys have other questions for Mr. Austin?
Yeah, when are you coming to help me?
Right?
Whenever you want us.
Well, let me know when you come to Tennessee.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure we'll be hoping to spend some time there just to kind of get to know the lay of the land, probably in spring, maybe early summer.
Nice.
Hopefully we have a pretty big pond build lined up around that area, so we're hoping to make that happen. And yeah, we'll hit you up and swing by and see your homestead and your nursery.
Right. Have Kevin start looking for some land for you.
Yeah, no kidding.
Site visit, man. Check everything out.
Not a bad idea, Lana. Kevin, you're just all your free time.
Yeah, I know, right? You're looking to go to East Tennessee, I heard you talk about mountains.
Yeah, we all agree that the mountains are home. I mean, it's hard to beat. You know, it's funny, spending so much time in Texas, and it's like, man, there's barely hills. I mean, it's kind of like, oh, what are we doing here?
Not the right
Oh,
spot.
yeah. Well, Ian lives in the flattest state, Florida.
I miss it, man. Particularly for bike riding from Pennsylvania, so it's boring.
Right.
I
All
bet.
around here.
I lived in Tallahassee for 5 years. It's like the one hill in Florida, basically. They built a Capitol building right on top of the hill.
That's about it.
Well, I got something for you, Austin. Maybe you can tell our audience maybe 2 or 3 tips that you've learned from the road, or maybe you got a crazy story too to share. But yeah, like basically Austin is an experienced installer for a lot of these permaculture designs. So these are designs that people have to grow food. You know, it's kind of an edible landscape idea. So what do you think, Austin? What would you say are 2 or 3 tips from an expert installer?
Definitely. One that I really love, that nature is kind of shown me well, is that the spirit of nature loves to have fun, and it's super light and easygoing. So for sure, don't take yourself too seriously when you get into a project or get into the space of doing the hands-on work. Let it flow. We like to let it dictate a lot. We'll define pond edges just simply by nice trees that are there and rolling hills and kind of spaces in the land. And then another, I guess, probably the second biggest one tip is, like, if your install comes out looking like exactly like the design, you did something wrong. You know, be open with it. Designs are great, even if it's your design and you've spent, who knows, 10, 15, 20 hours on the design.
Yeah.
When you show up on site, maybe you've been to site 5, 6, 7 times, but you show up and you start digging in the dirt, you start really communing with that land, and it starts talking to you in different ways that you hadn't been able to hear or see before. Just having that openness and that fluidity to accept change and to accept that, you know, what you put on this piece of paper isn't necessarily the end all be all. So just being able to keep it loose and have fun with it, I think, is the biggest lesson for all of this. It's so easy to get stuck in like theory cripples and you know, like ideal state and everything, but really at the end of the day, most of it's going to work as long as you're putting your heart into it and just kind of following what nature has to say. So I don't know, keeping it
Well,
loose.
it's how we learn too, right? The mistakes that happen, the things that we plant that didn't work and that we want to go back and try next year. Like, I can't get carrots right, and I'm going to keep trying as damn hard as I can to get straight carrots. But, you know, it's just learning, right? So that's part of it too, is I think you're open to learning, you're open to new ideas, you're open to listening to nature. And so that, I think, guides you and kind of has guided your spirit too, right, for so long. So I love seeing it all come together. And I wish you such luck. You're not going to be our last guest, that's for sure, because first is the best, right? So saved you for the first one. But I don't know what you got going on, Kev. You got any questions for Austin, or thoughts or concerns before we?
No, I just can't wait till he comes to Tennessee.
I know. Right.
Yeah. He's rocking all over the country.
Yeah. I thought you would land over here on the West Coast somehow with some snow and some water. Too much rain, though. Too much rain.
Politics. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we like the freedom states. You know, we're definitely drawn to Texas, Tennessee.
Yeah,
whether we want to say it or not, Florida, but
not the place to be for that.
I love Florida.
I actually came across this thing today called primary water. And I came across a couple of weeks ago, but I was looking into it again today briefly. Have you ever heard of that, Austin? Primary water? I don't know much about it at all. I mean, maybe it's not even real. Like, I'm going to be straight up. But it's basically the idea that water is created deep within the earth from just oxygen and hydrogen combining. And then sometimes it'll emerge as a natural spring, but other times you can like drill for it, and it's not at all connected to the water, the hydrological cycle of the rainfall. And so you don't deplete an aquifer. It's not related to the aquifer. It's not recharged by rainfall. It's out of that cycle completely. It's actually created deep within the earth. And, proponents of it are saying that, there is no water shortage on the planet or whatever, because, it's created all the time. And I just thought, like, well, if that is real and it makes sense to do, then those Western states seem a lot more attractive, because, I also left California after 20 years to come to Tennessee, although I did grow up here. I'm actually living in the house I grew up in.
What?
Yeah. That's
That's
the house I grew up in. That's where I'm living now in Nashville. But I love the West. I love the mountains and the beauty and, the epic landscapes in the West. But I didn't want to settle out, because I'm a grower and it's too dry. And in California, you can grow anything as long as you have water. But if water, gets cut off or whatever, you got nothing. So anyway, if anybody ever wants to investigate that, or if I find out more, I'd love to do a show on it.
Yeah, good idea.
Definitely. Yeah, we've been looking into kind of structured water a lot, and how to bring like structured water filters to garden systems, whether it's through like the irrigation systems or whatever it looks like, kind of maybe the I don't know, water main from the house or something. But yeah, there's all kinds of fun stuff that in the water world. Just kind of keeps going deeper and deeper, which is cool.
Structured water for the garden. I'd love to see how that's what kind of ideas you've come across that can do that. That's amazing. I know structured water is incredibly good for the body. My wife and we used to go and gather spring water straight from fresh springs, and just the feeling you get when like we'd go camping and we would drink nothing but spring water for like 2 or 3 days. I mean, you feel like a different person. And it's not just, the minerals or the purity of the water, because we drink really good, pure water anyway, but it doesn't have that structure.
Right. Yeah. Huh. Well, Austin, it was so wonderful to see you, hear you. Let's talk about what's chewing on. I got chicken chewing on here. Every day I make them a little treat and I take it out to their coop. And this is just one of my videos of them eating some fresh tomatoes that actually didn't get to become red on the vine. I had to put them in a brown sack with an apple. And so this was a fresh tomato that ripened. And then I grabbed some of their fresh eggs right out of them and cracked it on top. And this is just a little video of them eating their chicken tomato special. Okay, let's get on to
question, Lana. I saw the video. Are you not concerned about the chickens then wanting to eat their own eggs by giving them a taste of the raw egg? Because I've always not done that. I mean, I know they eat it and it's fine for them to eat, but like then they like might crack open their own egg because they like it so much.
Yeah, I worried about that, but I'm pretty good. There's only 4 of them, so I'm pretty good about going and getting only 3 of them lay. And so each day I get 3 eggs, and I don't really give them much chance to eat them. But the other day I did have them. I was like, thank you. And they're like, peck, 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 peck. And I was like, no, we don't do that. We don't peck them. So I don't often give them eggs. This was actually probably like the 3rd time. I've given them scrambled eggs as well. I'm trying to get their shells a little bit more sturdy. And so it's good protein. I guess eating their cracked shells is good too. So I didn't go that far. I feel like that was a little too much for them to eat like everything they produce. So let's just stick with a little bit of yolk. But they're my favorite. I give them lots of treats and they just play kind of all day. So they're my little animals. And I have 2 little chicks that are coming that nobody knows about coming up here soon. The guy just texted me and he's like, they're hatching a week early. So can you take them a week early? And I'm like, yeah, but I haven't told anybody yet. So I got 2 chicks coming in 2 weeks. So, but I'm excited to have 2 more, and just, I think I'm going to maybe stop at that, but we'll see till I get more land.
Yeah, I've never seen it. You know, when you talk about the eggs, every time I've had chickens, it's almost like a code that they might know on their own somehow. Like if it's cracked, it's okay.
Yeah.
I've never seen them like actually go after them myself. But anytime one break or falls out somewhere, you know, they're on top of it and they just clean it up.
Yep.
So it's kind of wild.
Yep.
That is my experience as well, Brendan. I've never seen them crack it open, but they'll sure go for it if it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Chickens are smart. And they're also really stupid sometimes, but they have an intelligence that just defies logic a lot of times. It never cease to amaze me. And Lana, you pet your chickens, right? Like you hold them and pet them and stuff.
Oh yeah. Every day, all day. Yep. As much as I can. I'm thinking about getting diapers, like one of our person I know that has diapers for their chicken, because I kind of want them to come. I want one of them to come inside because she's my favorite. But I did do a little Amazon search for chicken diapers since she said that is those are available. So I thought about making one, but then I was like, my family might kill me. So we'll just stick with keeping them outside for now. But yes, they're so friendly. I got them when they were 4 days old. And so I think just being with them so much, you know, they recognize over 101 faces. Did you guys know that?
That's a lot of faces.
A lot of faces. So, yeah.
I worked with chickens at a children's center for many, many years, for 16 years, actually. And there's no question that the chickens could identify many of the different kids because they would come and go as the day went. And some of the kids, they'd be like, okay, I'm out of here. And other kids, oh, that kid might give me something. And like you could tell their behavior that they recognize them. Absolutely.
Yep. Totally. Yeah.
Individually.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. Well, what else we got? Growing for real. Kevin, you got some things going on in your garden, it looks like.
Right. So yeah, we got a segment on this show called Growing for Real. And it's about solving problems together. And we got our guest here today that might have some insight into this problem. This is just one that when we were coming up with it was, popped in my head, like, what is the problem I have right now in my actual garden? And it is, my cat is pooping in the garden. And, he's our kitty, and he's been here for years. And we have kitty litter that, the same kind he's always used, and he used to use exclusively when he was only an indoor cat a couple years ago. And, it's always changed and fresh and everything. And a lot of times even the door's open for him to come right next to the garden into the litter box. But he's decided over time, he doesn't use it at all. He's 100% poop in the garden.
No
And
more litter box. He abandoned it.
yeah, I just abandoned it. So I've actually heard that, one way to do it is to actually put a litter box in the garden.
Oh,
Like if
that's
you have
smart.
like stray cats coming into your garden and pooping or whatever, they could put a litter box out there because that's actually more attractive to them. He wouldn't use it.
Mm-mm.
Not at all. Other cats in the neighborhood would use it, but he wouldn't use it. So it's kind of an issue. So I actually I tried putting down like cayenne pepper, they
Mhm.
say that stuff. He pooped right in it, didn't care. Then laying down like little sticks and twigs like over it because they don't like to scratch in it. He would like poop in the path and then scratch it out from underneath to cover it. So that didn't seem to work. And it's kind of a pain, especially when you're turning over the beds. You got all these little twigs. I mean, it takes you like 20 minutes to pick up all these, it's like pickup sticks. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't have time for this.
Sticks.
Put them down or pick them up. So, basically I'm just living with it at this point, and anything where he poops, it's either cooked or not eaten.
Do you have catnip in there? Yeah.
I don't have catnip in my garden. I have catnip all the way across the other side of the house in the front, which he enjoys very much.
Yeah.
What if you got a water hose and next time you saw him, you spray him down?
Well, that's a tough one, but because most of the time I'm not going to see him, and cats are smart, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he's not around, so
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's like motion sensor things, but then of course every time I go out there, it's going to spray me too.
You too, right?
Only at night when they're nocturnal.
Right. Well, my cat is not allowed out at night because of the
Okay.
coyotes.
Okay.
Unfortunately, of course, that's when the rodents come out, and I'd like for him to be out at night, but I don't want him to get eaten by a coyote.
Yeah. It's a tough one. Cat poop or a coyote? Coyote taking it. Yeah. Gotta take your pick, I guess. Is this a new thing?
It's been going on for about 6 months. The whole growing season into the fall. Yeah, I mean, basically, one of the things I've done is just kind of like, okay, he's using this spot, so I'm just gonna like just let him use that spot, and like hopefully we'll keep using different spots. So it's like a sacrifice spot in the garden. But oh man, when I first redid the beds in the fall, he pooped in 3 spots.
Austin, you got any help for cat poop?
Oh, geez. We used to
Not
just
much.
kind of, when we'd come across it, we'd just fling it out with the shovel. I mean, it was like our cat's favorite spot to poop for sure, was in the veggie beds. We did like take some really nice compost and make him like his own garden bed at one point under an apple tree. He used it for maybe a week and then right back to the main garden.
Right.
But no, we just kind of roll with it. If I was out weeding or just find some and huck it out, and then make sure we just washed everything real well before we ate it. So we started washing our salads and stuff, and like you said, Kevin, making sure we're cooking things that grown underground, like all our roots. We didn't cook instead of doing like a raw beet salad. But I don't know. I mean, we're both still here, so.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a bit of diseases that cat poop can carry, right? And like pregnant women should not be around it at all. And there's all sorts of, I mean, I don't know, I can't remember the specifics, but when you look into it, it's like, sounds pretty scary. But yeah, I mean, we're just like cooking it and whatnot too. But it's just, I do like to grow like baby lettuces, and I used to grow those for market. And I'm like, I'm not going to cut baby lettuces right next to the cat poop.
Yeah.
I guess I just need more land. He can't poop in it all, right?
Exactly. Well, I don't have a solution for that either. So I say you shovel it or you shovel it. There's not much more to do than that.
Overcrop it, yeah, with catnip.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I actually tried using like black soldier fly leachate. I'm like, maybe that'll like be probiotics to like stop the spread of the bad things that it carries. And I used to scoop it out, like constantly. And I got tired of it. I'm like, he's going to go there every freaking day and poop his butthole off. So I'm like, dude, how much poop can you possibly produce?
Now he knows you're having fun with him. So.
Oh yeah, he's a piece of work. Maybe I'll bring him on a show.
I'm going to stop looking on Craigslist for a cat. I was thinking I wanted a mouser so I could have something to get cats, and I've been looking on Craigslist. They're so expensive. Like, I'm looking for a free farm cat. Like, where's the free kittens people used to give away in boxes in front of the grocery store
You
when
can
I was
try
growing up? Huh?
like a shelter or whatever, right?
Well, yeah, I was just looking on Craigslist for people who,
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, because there's a lot of cats brought in they can't find homes for in most
Well,
places.
yeah, and then you have to shelter and adopt, and I'm just trying to have a farm cat that if it ran away, I would be okay with it. And
Yeah,
you know, so they're pretty
Maybe
expensive, right?
coyote urine.
yeah. Maybe you should get a barn owl box.
Yeah.
Could do that. Could do that. But I'm gonna skip cats and stick with chickens. That was my other secret, as I was looking for a cat, and then I just clicked on chickens instead. Keep it simple. Simple I can take care of, not another food I have to buy for an animal, right? Just
Right.
Yeah,
stick
you
with
have
what-
a zoo already.
What?
So you have a zoo already.
Yeah, I do have a little zoo. A little zoo.
That's probably its own show right there. All the
Oh
animals.
yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure.
Do
My
you
daughter.
talk to your chickens with like?
Oh yeah. No, just English. Sometimes
Oh, straight up English. Okay,
Spanish. English and Spanish.
not
But-
chicken language.
No. They don't know what that means. They only know English, right? We do have a really cool chameleon I'll bring on my show and let him sit here. He was like this big when we got him, and now he's a beast. But I gotta go for crickets every like 3 days. See,
You should
eats
raise
so much.
crickets.
Well, that's my next step. Well, that's what I was looking into because I'm scared of going to Petco to buy the crickets.
Yeah, it's not that hard to raise crickets. Yeah,
Really?
you should do that and do a show. We'll do a show on it.
You raise them and you send them to me. No?
No thanks. I raise black soldier fly larvae, but not in the wintertime. That's a whole other show. I'm actually thinking about asking Doug at Northwest Redworms to come on the show because I've been ordering from him for years, and he raises them, all year round in a cold climate where they're a tropical species. So he's really expert in it. And I'll see if he'll come on the show and talk about it, because that is one of my absolute favorite tricks and tips to being super sustainable in your garden. It's raising black soldier fly larvae.
I'd be super interested in that, Kevin.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Oh, yeah, you can do it all year round.
Yes.
Right.
Get a
Yeah.
little station.
I don't know where you're at, Brandon. You're over here for me.
Yeah.
You better.
Austin,
Well,
you
thanks.
ever done black soldier fly larvae? You ever?
No, I haven't. I did the red wigglers for a while. Had great luck with them until the Vermont winter came around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Quick demise. Other than that, no, just we've done a lot of like nematodes introduction and ladybugs as well. Parasitic wasps too. Never the black soldier flies. Heard cool things about them though, and they kind of seem to be like popping up more and more.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you have chickens or ducks, like it's easy way to raise a whole bunch of food for them.
It'll probably show up on the supermarket shelf soon.
Right.
Or maybe-
Homegrown.
Yeah, I'm actually I'm totally fine with eating bugs, but I don't want to eat bugs for the reason that they're telling us that we need to eat bugs. That's not what I'm into.
No, that's not fun.
It's funny because now I can't be like, I'm like, yeah, we should eat them ourselves. Then they're like, oh, you're into the stuff that we don't want to say, so we don't want to get banned. I'm like, no, I'm not. So I can't even like talk about eating bugs anymore. But I guess I just did. But no, that's much better the chickens go like crazy for it, and the duck, it's like a perfect food for them. Yeah, a whole other topic. We'll get into that.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that. I don't think I have time to raise anything else right now, but
It's easy though.
is it? Okay. Well, I'll have to look into it then. Well, thank you for coming on, Austin. It's been such a pleasure to see you, to have you. I'm so excited for your growth that you have been establishing, and keep your roots growing. And if you land somewhere, then let us know so we can know where to find you. Other than that, you're the nomad Austin.
Of course. And yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I'm really excited to see where this goes for you guys. It's pretty cool. Where can we find the this content when you guys start? Are you gonna do like weekly videos or like monthly or YouTube, I'm guessing, or?
Yeah, well, we're going to start out weekly, and it's going to be on many different platforms. And of course, you can check us out on growyourgrassoff.com.
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome.
Grow your grass off.
GYGO.
Yep.
GYGO. What do you say, GYGO or GYGO?
GYGO, GYGO.
GYGO. That is us. Well, very cool. All right, stop recording, Kevin.
For real, stop recording.